Hey, Foot Clan, Navy Federal has a mission to put its members first by making their financial goals the priority. Receive a lifetime of membership benefits to help you and your family accomplish your life missions, like a full suite of financial products designed to fit your needs, 24/7 live support, and access to over 300 branches on or near military bases. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information. Call 1-888-842-6328 or download the Navy Federal Credit Union app. Message and data rates may apply.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Jason is smirking. Mike is bobbing his head. Brooks just got off the set. And Baby Josh is here too.
Oh, it's going to be such a good show.
Welcome into the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
It's like you had a sneaky surprise for us or something, Jason.
I
You're
don't.
just fired up?
I've got sneaky surprises even for myself. I never know what I'm going to say. I'm so excited to see what happens.
He waits in anticipation for his own words.
It's going to be so cool. Be like, oh, I said that.
It is Monday, October 29th. Studs and Duds on the show. Rising stars on the show today. Fresh off another wild Sunday in the fantasy football prairie. I'm probably going to mix in a lot of Wild West terms today.
Yeehaw!
Too much Red Dead.
I was literally, you want to know what my smirk was?
I have ridden a horse for hours.
I'm walking a little bow-legged today.
That's correct.
The smirk actually was, I'm scrolling through Twitter because I wanted to pull up something for the show. And while I was there, I saw the picture of how you took in the fourth quarter of the Sunday Night Football, which is you with the Red Dead Redemption projector, and then your amazing core strength of holding the phone with the game on
So
between your
dim
legs.
thighs.
In between my legs? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
People don't even know about the Holloway thighs. They're strong.
Yeah, they're. You don't see them below the desk on the
That's
YouTube, but
correct.
they're just like Saquon.
Maurice Jones-Drew style.
That's yeah. Right.
I'm surprised your phone wasn't just crushed into a million pieces.
Oh, thank you. You guys have never complimented my thighs like today.
Like a rooster.
Did you see the other? Did you see the other tweet Brooks put up this morning?
Yes.
Yeah, sitting. Apparently, you can remote play your PS4 on a computer. So
I got to figure this tech out.
yeah. Anyways, let's digress into the fantasy football talk.
So we can get to Red
So we can get to some Red Dead. Like I said, Studs and Duds on the show today. A couple weeks ago, I think Jason was out of the office. I had a little fun. Asked the Foot Clan for some. Well, I think at the time I asked them for metaphors about the weekend, and I got like 200 puns. So now I just asked for puns about how the weekend's gone for you. So I've got some reaction, and we get that one-liner reaction from the Foot Clan.
And they are so great. Foot Clan, you
These
guys
are very funny.
and gals are amazing. You are such good people out there.
Yes. Jason equates being a good human with pun capabilities.
100%.
Look, sometimes you got to laugh it out, and
That's
you get
right.
a bad beat.
If you can't make a good pun, you're a terrible person.
Yes. So before I get into the rewind, I'm going to share some. First, lots of hate for Jameis Winston.
That was very disappointing.
Steven, you win stun, you lose some. There was another one, Jameis Winston, but he capitalized the INT for interception.
Right.
Okay.
Which
That's more of a visual pun.
well, yeah, Jameis kind of capitalized the INT all Sunday long. You've got some Njoku hate. For instance, the Njoku is on me because he goosed.
Yeah.
No points. You've got to be joking me. That's pretty bad. David Njoku? Brooks, you put that one in there? Very nice. Raheem Mostert, the Colonel himself. Colonel Mustard on the bench with the clipboard.
That is my absolute favorite. I mean, it was really disappointing. Colonel Mustard not being involved and all of a sudden Burrito being able to stay on the field.
Yeah.
But the Colonel on the bench with the clipboard.
Yes.
That's
Colonel
good stuff.
Colonel Mustard.
Oh,
Yeah. And then I don't know what's going on with Doug Baldwin, but he's killing my dynasty team. And he's killing Matthew, Dud Baldwin.
That one's so good.
Dud Baldwin.
I mean, just right to the point.
Yes. Well done.
Simple. Dud Baldwin.
Effective.
Yeah.
And then a player that I'll transition this one probably into a quick question for you guys, but lots of Kenny Galladay sadness. Like Kenny Holiday. took a holiday. Galladon.
Holiday.
Kenny gone away. Yeah, he has. Someone went with the very literal Kenny Gallanite. It's no longer day. It's the night.
I didn't get that one at first.
No, we're going to pass. Trey Boohoo again. Trey Burton with a bad week. I John Brown my pants. Yeah. He does that, though. That's tough. There's poop in my Landry.
Oh, that's some dirty Landry.
Some dirty Landry. What are you guys doing with some of these players that have started hot and you've wanted to kind of anoint them, right? Like even they've stepped into the flames, they were on fire. You want to kind of walk up to them and pin on like an RB2, or you want to pin on a wide receiver 1. Kenny Galladay being one of those guys that you started to wonder, well, maybe I really do have a superstar here, and then maybe not.
I think, this is, first of all, even if you have a superstar in Kenny Galladay, if he is the next great player, the great players have bad performances, so you can't overreact to the dud. But the reason why
back-to-back duds, though.
The reason why I've been hesitant to anoint him the next great player is because he is not the clear number one for his team. And you can't be the next great player if you're not the clear number one. And sometimes he's not even the clear number 2.
Yeah.
That's the problem with all three of these guys. That's why a couple weeks ago when the question was posed, who would you rather have, I went with Golden Tate. Because I feel like he is the de facto one. If he's not the one, he's the 2. And Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay can switch with, I'm the 1, I'm the 3. No, I'm the 1, I'm the 3.
Yeah, Tate is the floating 2 at all times.
Yeah, so I would rather have the consistency there.
All right, let's get into the rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
We got a floater.
I don't know how that happens, but I'm not going to use the floating 2 as an explanation anymore.
No. You got to carry the 1.
Chiefs coach Andy Reid said Tyreek Hill suffered a groin strain in Week 8 against the Broncos. This stinks.
Yeah.
Because this affects 2 people.
Yes, it does. This will be very interesting. Not only, I mean, a groin strain is rough. It takes a few weeks to get back from this injury. What happens with Patrick Mahomes? Now, I'm not saying he will not tank. Patrick Mahomes is still going to be great for fantasy football, but Tyreek Hill changes the offense for every single player out there, from Travis Kelce to Kareem Hunt to Patrick Mahomes.
Completely agree.
What happens to this offense now that they don't have the fastest man in the NFL?
They're going to be fine because of the schedule. Their upcoming next 2 weeks is the Cleveland Browns, followed by the Arizona Cardinals. So if Tyreek Hill misses,
I really wish he had Tyreek for those games.
Man.
If he misses time, he's going to be fine. I would hope, if this is one of those reoccurring type of injuries that you need to rest up, that they would take the 2 weeks off. If you've got Tyreek Hill and Pat Mahomes, you're probably off to a pretty good lead. You can withstand some victories without Tyreek Hill, as we say.
Right.
And this, I almost made Sammy Watkins my rising star today, because not only did he have a great week, but
he's in line for guaranteed targets.
Exactly. He'll be the one if Tyreek Hill is out. But since we don't know the injury intimately yet, I did not.
Yeah, and I agree. Watkins should get a huge target bump, but a name to pay attention, I'm sure we'll cover him tomorrow, but will be Chris Conley, who would step in. And Chris Conley is also very, very fast. He's never really popped or broke out. I mean, he was a third-round draft pick. We haven't seen it from him, but he will be given an opportunity.
Well, and if there's one thing we've learned about Pat Mahomes is he throws it to the open man, whether it's Harris or Kelce or Watkins or Hill, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You just threw it to Hill a lot because he's open.
Yeah, pretty much. David Johnson was evaluated for a concussion but later returned and played. After the game, they said Johnson was fine.
Okay.
We expect him to be fine. I will say this. As of today, he's RB20 on the week. So a new offensive coordinator playing San Francisco.
It's the touchdowns, man.
It has not
Didn't work out.
Didn't translate into anything
You mean on
special.
the season, Andy?
Nope.
Oh, you meant on the week? Oh,
Yeah, I mean on the week.
okay. Sorry.
It's all right. You're
He's
good,
he
Brooks.
is higher than that on the season because he had touchdowns those first few weeks. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people. That's why we were saying hold David Johnson, not necessarily go and get him because it's tough to. At one point, I think around the third quarter, we brought up in the studio how happy Mike McCoy is because the Arizona Cardinals were just looking putrid with their new offensive coordinator. There's some problems in Arizona.
They won.
They did. They
That's a
came
problem
back.
for that draft pick. Ronald Jones suffered a hamstring injury. Ben Roethlisberger suffered an injury to his left index finger in the second quarter. Tomlin said he didn't know the severity. I know the severity. He doesn't use his left index finger to throw. So
He was just fine after that injury during that game.
Yeah, but pointing at people is difficult.
Yeah.
That's right. No finger wagging. No.
Hey, you! Ah!
No Matumbo. with that
Oh,
hand.
yeah, you can't wag.
Can't Matumbo.
No, he's going to get some penalties as he has to use a different finger.
That's true. That's true. Sonny Michel
Ref, it's hurt.
out.
Yeah.
Sonny Michel out tonight.
But, I mean, we didn't have a show to cover this. Sony Michel was spotted at practice. So I know it gave
Hiding behind the bushes.
I know it gave
peering out.
people a glimmer of hope for this week, which was he should have been considered just incredibly doubtful for this week. But perhaps next week Sony Michel is already back. We shall see.
Gronk is going to play.
Hopefully as a decoy.
Jason says that because in our dynasty matchup, where I benched Marvin Jones,
Whoops.
for Carlos Hyde.
Whoops.
I thank you, my friend.
Yeah, I need 18 points from Gronk to beat Jason.
I hope you get 16.
I don't think you hope that.
No, I don't.
Because you
I
will be
don't at all.
pooping your pants at the
I
end of
want
that game.
0.
And the other big news for tonight, LeSean McCoy, he cleared the concussion protocol. He will play. So if you held on to play Shady tonight, hopefully he will reward you with at least 8 fantasy points.
Is that what you need?
Because that's what I need.
If you ever, we had some friends.
We are selfish.
Well, I was say we had some friends from out of town that were watching the games with us yesterday, and one of them said, "I'm so glad that you guys are in it." Right? Like that's what this show is. Like we're not above it. We're in it.
Yeah, we
sitting
are
at
you.
You're sitting at the table with us. I don't think you can give great contextual fantasy advice from
From the ivory tower?
Yeah, from the bird's nest, looking down at everybody else. You got to be – that's one of the reasons why we intentionally restrict the quantity of leagues that we play in, because we get invited to play in tons of them. But if I'm not invested in my team the way you are, I'm not going to give you contextual advice the right way. So that being said, Mike needs 8 points. I need 18 points.
Yes, I do. Before we jump into the Stun Muffins, just a couple of quick pieces of news. A quipple. As the trade deadline approaches, Demaryius Thomas himself believes there's about a 50-50 chance that he is traded, and teams are looking into Pierre Garçon,
Yes.
who was out. It seemed like he missed for injury, but this could have been we're protecting Pierre Garçon because we're going to trade him.
Yeah, it's true. Trade deadline is Tuesday at 4 Eastern.
And then
In other words,
Le'Veon Bell watch is Wednesday.
Well, and here's the thing is we're going to release our show. It's gonna hit, and then the trade deadline will come, and there'll be things maybe stuff will happen during the show.
Maybe.
It'll be a long show, 8-hour show. All right, let's get into the Stud Muffins.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
Jason.
Yo.
Cam Newton.
He's booty scooting.
Booty scooting his way up to the number 2 quarterback, Jason. How do you feel about that?
Look, I feel like he's been on fire. I think Norv Turner has done an excellent job with the offense because Baltimore Ravens had been shutting just about everybody down, and Booty Scootin said, not me. And the Carolina Panthers, they, as a team, I think need more respect. They have – I mean, we were talking about the game line from Vegas was surprising. Look, the Panthers just beat the Eagles and the Ravens in back-to-back weeks. Their offense looks great. Their defense is tough.
5-2.
They're great.
Cam Newton tried his best to throw an interception in the end zone. And that still magically turned into a Christian McCaffrey touchdown.
There was a point in that game where I watched Cam Newton do a fake handoff bootleg to the left on like 38 consecutive plays. And they never won. Every time
he ran
the
it in.
defense was surprised. It was like, what? What happened? But you can't stop him.
Oh!
All right, so Cam Newton, 21 for 29, 217 and 2. 10 for 52 and a touchdown on the ground. Tampa, Pittsburgh, Detroit. You start Cam Newton.
Yes.
We talked about Deshaun Watson, the Thursday reaction, the hyper efficiency. But let's talk about another player right at the top of the fantasy producers this week. Derek Carr.
Yeah.
You take away Amari Cooper, and Derek Carr becomes
He was holding them back.
Superstar.
He was actually also in consideration for my rising star. It's fun to disparage Derek Carr and to feel like, to just pile on the this guy's no good anymore talk. You know, it's a favorite pastime for some. But the reality is he actually looked good. His schedule coming up is not scary. I mean, you've got the Chargers in there, but 2 of the next 3 games are San Francisco and the Arizona Cardinals. And it sounds crazy, but I don't think anybody here will be that surprised if we say, what if this is addition by subtraction? What if not having Amari Cooper out there needing to get the 10, 12 targets a game and not producing with them half the games? What if this is just kind of opens it up for Derek Carr where he's just, reading the
I mean, Amari Cooper wasn't getting the 10 targets. He was
every other game.
Well, twice this year he did. What happened was, Jason, it opened things up for your guy, their new number 1 wide receiver, Brandon LaFell, who played on 92% of the snaps, which is more than Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, Jordy. Neat story. We'll talk about him.
Jared could.
But look, Derek Carr is San Francisco, Chargers, Arizona. It's interesting. Jared Goff, 19 for 35, 295 and 3. What's amazing is you have this contrast. 2 studs, Jared Goff, Russell Wilson. Goff, 35 passes. Russell Wilson had 17 passes, 14 for 17, 248 and 3. I think, when you pass the ball 17 times and you have a great fantasy day, fantasy owners should consider themselves quite lucky.
Yes.
Because this team wants to run, and it makes Wilson hit and miss. It makes him difficult to predict.
I do agree.
Because he only ran for 15 yards.
That it hurts the consistency and the baseline. But whenever you've got the low volume, high touchdowns, you can't really – we've done this with Deshaun Watson, right, who only threw 20 passes. But when you're throwing bomb touchdowns, the drive is over. You don't get to throw any more passes. And I think that efficiency shouldn't always be looked at as, a negative that's going to flip back the other way. When you've got Tyler Lockett, when you've got superstars like Ed Dickson, the drives are going to be over quick.
All right, 18 minutes. Who took the what was the over-under for when Jason would bring up Ed Dickson and take a victory lap?
Yeah, I'm surprised it took this long.
This is just one of 12.
I took the under, so.
Yeah, Carson Wentz, nice game against Jacksonville. 3 touchdowns. Andrew Luck.
He's great.
Always doing it. 22 for 31, started the game 10 for 10. Not a lot of questions about these guys other than the ones we brought up. So let's talk running backs. Hey, James Conner.
Hey.
How about 200-plus total yards from James Conner? 24 for 146 and 2, 5 for 66 through the air. And, first player in Steelers history with 100 rushing yards and multiple rushing touchdowns in 3 straight games. James Conner on pace from Adam Leventon. Tweeted this morning, on pace for 2,100 total yards and 20 touchdowns. They don't need that Lev Bell guy.
No, they don't need him. That's for sure. This is why they didn't give him the long-term contract. I mean, they've always been able to have the next man up be successful. Tuesday's the trade deadline, so people are thinking Lev Bell might come back Wednesday. Again, I still believe that we have one more full workload week for James Conner, and after that, we don't know how the workload's going to split up, but this has been one of the most interesting and terrible storylines of the season is the Lev Bell watch.
Todd Gurley made a very interesting decision at the end of that game.
Oh, man.
25 for 114
That was,
on the ground, 6 for 81 through the air, and a touchdown, and then he took a little knee.
It was Westbrook who kind of made that in vogue. Am I remembering that right?
Brian Westbrook?
Yeah.
I think you're correct.
I think so because I think it was against Dallas.
There was a very particular play where the football player did the right football thing, sacrificed his stats, went down because you guarantee the victory, and then people realize, oh, that's analytically a good thing to do. Don't even bother giving the ball back. So people were tilting, but Todd Gurley did the right thing for his team.
If he had scored, it would have been another touchdown for Gurley, which would have he would have been beyond the pace of LaDainian Tomlinson. He would have been on pace to break the record. The over-under would have changed with the score.
Yep.
And the game line would have changed with the score. And he came out this morning and said, screw fantasy, screw Vegas.
Yeah,
basically.
good win.
Yeah.
Good for you, Gurley.
So let's talk about Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack, 25 for 132 and 2.
Oh, those are my 2 starts of the week right there.
I saw – yeah, you're Gurley and Mack.
Yeah.
I saw a stat that said that the RBBC, right, we knew it was going to be good for Indianapolis going up against Oakland. But the RBBC in Indianapolis over the last 2 weeks has like 450 rushing yards. And if you think about that, like Saquon has like 519 on the year. So this running back by committee has been bossed. And I wanted to make Marlon
Also, the
Mack,
Colts offensive line has been extremely, extremely strong.
no doubt. I wanted to make Marlon Mack kind of a rising star candidate today, but
I already rose him up last week.
well, sure. But there's bye week this week. Jacksonville, Tennessee, Miami, Jacksonville, Houston. So take that for what you will. We knew Buffalo and Oakland were going to be good. Nyheim Hines was hyper efficient in this game. Jordan Wilkins was good. Put things into perspective for us on Marlon Mack, because the last 2 weeks he was a 30-point scorer. So this is 2 great performances. None of us are disillusioned to think 30 points a week is what you're going to get from Mack, but they are running the ball well. They were up in both games, 25 carries. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've said from early in the offseason, I think he's the best back on this team. He has proven that, and this is a team that has a porous defense with a great quarterback. So there will be enough points scored where he'll be valuable, but he is still a matchup play when it comes to not necessarily the ability to start, but what you're going to get out of him. You're not going to see crazy 150 yards on the ground, multi-touchdowns when you're playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I would worry, a little bit more about them being down to a great offense and flipping the script to Nyheim Hines more than playing against someone like Jacksonville, because someone like Jacksonville I doubt is going to jump out to this monstrous lead and take away that first and second down role from Marlon Mack. So the schedule coming up to me says you can start him through all of those games, but you have to temper your expectations. Except the bye week, don't start him then.
Yeah, and
Nice.
Neither Hines nor Mack really made any of their fantasy points in the passing game. There was only 4 receptions between the two of them, 2 each. Joe Mixon, monstrous game from Joe Mixon, 21 for 123 and 2. Alvin Kamara doing his thing. If you had told me that like Drew Brees could throw for, what did he throw for? 100
Yeah, it was really,
120
really low.
yards?
Yeah. So
I mean, and they blew him out. So
Well, it didn't blow him out. I think they
Yeah.
won by, what?
final score
3.
versus actual game,
Sure.
they blew him out.
oh yeah, I was gonna say it was like 30-20 to end the game, but they were 3 scores ahead for quite a while. Once the Thielen fumble happened, that changed the whole game.
The game really did change right
Adrian Peterson,
That is the most if
26 for 149 and 1.
If there's a quick question of who on the year has surprised you the most, it has to be Adrian Peterson for me at this point. I did not think he was going to be able to keep up. I expected a couple big games and then him to go away. I mean, 26 for 150 and a touchdown. Whew.
4.6 a carry this year, 127 rushes for 587 yards. The last 4 games he's played, okay? 120 yards rushing, 97, 99, 149.
And now his next 2 weeks, the schedule's great for him. He has Atlanta and Tampa Bay.
Correct.
I mean, P. Ryan is out. There's nobody else there taking the ball. Chris Thompson was active in this game.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's the AP show here.
Both of those teams are averaging – they're giving up 112 on 115 yards a game rushing on average. So Adrian Peterson has been a steal for fantasy owners. Phillip Lindsay in the sole running back role, 18 for 95 and a touchdown.
Real quick, just because I looked it up. How many yards do you think AP is on pace for right now?
Ooh, on pace. So I took a quick look. I mean, he's basically
1,000?
Basically has 100 yards in 5 of 7 games.
1,342.
Yeah. All right, before we move on to the wide receivers, want to thank today's sponsor, Movement Watches. You've heard us talking about them. With almost 2 million watches sold in 160-plus countries, they continue to revolutionize fashion on the belief that style shouldn't break the bank. I've got a Movement watch. All of these fellas do. They are sharp. The minimalist look is amazing, and they don't lie about the price. You can get a great deal. A new watch might cost you $400 to $500 at a department store. Movement watches start at just $95 because Movement figured out that by selling online, they can cut out that middleman retail markup, provide the best possible price, all while maintaining a classic design, quality construction, and styled minimalism. They've got sunglasses. They got fashion-forward bracelets for her. And right now you can get 15% off with free shipping and free returns by going to movement.com. That's mvmt.com/footballers. See why Movement keeps growing. Check out their expanding collection. Go to mvmt.com/footballers. Join the movement.
And Foot Clan, thank you so much. Look, I'm distracted. I'm supposed to be doing a pristine auction read, but we got to hit that
Breaking news.
Wait, hold on. So, Todd Haley was on the hot seat. It was all a ruse. Why is this sad music?
Because
Hue Jackson has been fired. Adam Schefter reporting. I don't even know who's taking over yet.
It's gotta be Todd Haley. It's gotta be Todd Haley.
Yes! Free Baker!
He is gone.
Free Jarvis! Free them all! Yes!
Well, I will say this. Browns
Get
fans.
the sad music out of here!
Browns fans, I have one word for you. Congratulations!
Oh!
This is
Cleveland,
great.
Look, now they know how we felt now when we got rid of Mike McCoy. It feels good. The burden has been lifted. Cleveland, you're free.
Yeah, I still believe it will
go the way of Gus Bradley. fly home.
I still believe that this will take an off season with Haley in tow. I mean, these are not Haley's picked coordinators. I'm sure. I mean, if Haley ends up getting the job, right, you're not going to have the worst defensive coordinator in the league sticking around for next year. So, but it makes me excited in dynasty formats for the Browns. I think the arrow is pointing up. Also, hey, Foot Clan, I want to tell you about Pristine Auction. Look, if you've listened for any time, you've heard Pristine Auction because we talk about them all the time because they deserve to be talked about all the time. The Foot Clan know. We get tweets nonstop about how I've completely redecorated my office, my bedroom, my game room, my studio, whatever, with, framed, signed jerseys from NFL players, and it looks unbelievable. People don't realize how cheap you can get these things because it's an auction. Corey Davis signed Titans jersey yesterday for $58. T.Y. Hilton, $49. Keenan Allen signed jersey, $59. These things are amazing. You can make a completely free account. You can bid for free. You only pay if you actually win the item. So if you see some, bid whatever you want, check it out, and you will win stuff that your friends will come over and you'll be like, whoa, how'd you get it? How'd you get
say, hey, Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah, and you're like,
can I auction this off? Can I auction off the signed Todd Haley?
How much are you going to give
Hue
me to
Jackson?
take it?
I would start the bidding at 1 penny. and I think that you
I
might
think
not
I
get
paid $5 for this.
Anyways,
I have a signed Hue Jackson photograph here. I've bought 2 signed photographs from coaches before.
yes, you have, and
And
both
they've
have been fired. So don't fuck the
Weird.
Fantasy Reaper. So, anyways, check them out. Pristine Auction, PRISTINE auction.com.
LeBron James was named head coach.
Upgrade.
Look, Hugh, I wish you well on all your future endeavors.
Just
Just not head coaching.
all right. Let's get back to business. Although, yeah, I mean, do you agree with Jason that is going to take some time for who?
Oh yeah, it's not this year. This is just the future is bright for Cleveland moving forward.
Okay. Unbelievable. Somehow it happened.
It's really
right.
not unbelievable. I checked the box of fully expected, maybe
Lamar-
sooner than expected.
Lamar Miller, 18 for 133-1. We talked about that big game. Chris Carson, 25 for 105-1. What do fantasy owners do with Rashad Penny? Do they send
Drop him.
Just get rid of him, right?
Why? You said this yesterday. You said Rashad Penny is going to be the most owned irrelevant player for the longest time this year. Penny does not need to be on a roster. He doesn't. If he's on the waivers, you don't need to make a bid on him.
He didn't play a snap yesterday.
Thank you, Brooks. Didn't play a snap. He is not the guy you want. You can't trust the Seahawks all of a sudden to flip back to Mike Davis, but Chris Carson is the guy. If he doesn't get injured, he's going to get 20-plus carries, and I think that he's a guy that, you can rely on. I'm starting to fully buy in.
3 big names at the wide receiver position: Marvin Jones, Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins. Let's throw Tyler Boyd in there too. Yesterday, big-time games. Marvin Jones, first game with over 4 catches this year. 7 for 117-2 on 10 targets as Minnesota next week. Mike Evans, 6 for 179-1. Fitzmagic. Ryan Fitzpatrick bringing him back from the depths of defeat to a much more narrow defeat.
The question of who will start for Tampa Bay it's a big question for fantasy players because the value for all 3 wide receivers of Tampa Bay goes up. Evans, Deshaun Jackson, Chris Godwin. Meanwhile, O.J. Howard will still get usage, but you can't call it reliable usage like when Jameis Winston is the quarterback. So fantasy players need to keep an ear to the ground for that news.
Yeah, and I could see Fitzpatrick taking over.
He could
for the rest
I
of
have
the
no
season.
idea.
I mean, this is one of those where now I'm actually kind of interested in maybe poking around at some of these wide receivers, definitely scooping up Chris Godwin if he's still on waivers, and hoping for the Fitzpatrick changeover.
I'm sorry, I can't remember who mentioned it on Twitter, but it was very poignant. Of the decision comes down to this: if Dirk Cutter is making the decision for himself, he should play Ryan Fitzpatrick, as in like the safety of his job. If you're playing for the organization, you got to let Jameis Winston go and try and work it out. So we'll see we'll see where he goes.
All right, Sammy Watkins, we talked about him. He might be the beneficiary of the Tyreek injury, just with some more guaranteed production. Yesterday with Tyreek, he was 8 for 107-2 on 9 targets. He's had a red zone target in every game except for week 2. Tyler Boyd came back around.
Yeah.
9 for 138-1 on 10 targets.
Wide receiver 1, Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
He's been great.
Stephon Diggs, 10 for 119 and a touchdown. And Adam Thielen, 7 for 103 and a touchdown.
Just made it. Just made it.
Got over his 103. Garbage time. And then Larry Fitzgerald.
Hey,
8
there
for
he
102
is.
and a touchdown. He scored in 2 straight weeks. 12 targets.
That's right. And from what I heard, the coaching staff has been trying to tell Josh Rosen, when you're in trouble, go to Larry. Go to Larry. And so I think at home, Larry looks good, but you don't need to hold on to him right now. I mean, it's one of those things where they're going into their bye. Then they go on the road to Kansas City. I don't like that, even though you've got a bad defense. On the road, Josh Rosen will get destroyed there. Kansas City defense will look great that week.
All right. Also, David Moore. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. 4 for 97 and a touchdown. Beckham had 11 targets. He's the 8 for 136.
Yeah, he's good.
Heading into the bye week.
At one point, So this is an insight into your league of record team, Andy. At one point, we're watching these games. This is at the very end of the game. And the Giants have had about as bad an offensive production game as possible. They have 3
very
points.
similar to all their games.
Yes.
Yes.
They have 3 total points. They've been blown out. The game is just trash. And you have the wide receiver running back stack of Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley on your team. And so you would think, oh, Andy had a bad week. No. These guys were amazing. Both players in our format had, 17 points?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I mean, that was worst case scenario. The Giants stunk it up.
Hue Jackson ends his tenure with a 336-1 record.
336
No,
what?
3.
Well, and then there's an and?
3 wins, 36
3
losses,
and 36.
and 1 tie.
Impressive.
That's just like being punched in the face a lot. I mean, that is
It takes work. I feel like, and
3 wins
I'm not,
and 1 tie.
I genuinely believe
in 40 games.
That's so bad.
I could not. I mean, no way, shape, or form could I coach a franchise. I'm not in it enough. I don't know enough. I feel like if you gave me 40 games, could I win 3 of them? I think I got a chance, Still the players on the field doing the stuff.
It's just incredible how bad. And apparently, I don't know if this is true. I don't have time to vet it. This all happened live on the show. I just read a tweet that he is the 6th straight Browns coach to be fired after the Steelers game, after a game against the Steelers.
That would be very interesting.
So, tight end stud muffins. Travis Kelce did Travis Kelce things. That's pretty nice. 6 for 79 and 1. He's only going to get better from a target share perspective. Although I don't know if he really gets better without Tyreek taking the top off the defense, but
He will remain.
He will be himself.
He will remain Zeus.
Jack Doyle, Eric Ebron,
Yes,
both scored, but Doyle had 6 catches.
Yeah, we'll talk about Doyle in just a second.
Oh, we will? We will.
Eric Ebron made it into this section because he scored the touchdown, but this line is far more reminiscent of the very beginning of the year where he was getting 3 receptions and he would score. The snap counts were horrific for Eric Ebron. Graham Barfield tweeted out, with Doyle back in the lineup, Eric Ebron saw his snaps cut to 18% versus Jack Doyle at 75%. Mo Alley Cox, the biggest tight end I've ever seen, who had a absolutely sensational one-handed touchdown grab. I mean, the dude is Frankenstein in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is...
He's 8'2", 700 pounds.
You don't want to be Frankenstein in a bad way.
Well, just usually Frankenstein, you're like, it's a monster. No, this guy is an awesome monster.
Yeah.
I want him on my team. He outsnapped Eric Ebron.
Well, 1 touchdown per tight end. That was the distribution.
That's true.
But no, you need to be aware of that. The snap counts, look, talent and opportunity. Ebron is talented. He made a great play on the touchdown catch. He's been a great tight end. Snap counts freak me out. They freaked me out. Start of the week, Jared Cook, 4 for 74 and a touchdown. O.J. Howard, Greg Olsen, and Ed Dickson. Ed Dickson, 2 for 54 and 1.
On 2 targets.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you have a 43-yard catch, the targets go down because your drive is finished.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure. I guess
how many targets was Will Disley getting? Very few, right?
Yeah.
Just took him to the house.
He's already dead.
I'm just saying.
He's not playing.
I let it go.
When he was playing?
Yes,
Okay.
it's the role. The
Okay.
role that Ed Dickson was.
You were crapping
I
on
wanna
a guy
be-
who's on the IR.
No.
I want to be clear, though. The lack of passing attempts in Seattle is not because every time he throws the ball, they're scoring a touchdown. They have been intensely lowered this year with their offensive coordinator change and their commitment to the run. So, yes, occasionally a drive is hyper efficient and they score a touchdown. But look at the second half of that game. Russell Wilson basically didn't touch the fantasy point meter for the entire second half of that game, and it wasn't some mind-blowing blowout.
Ed Dickson from this week on is a tight end 1. I actually believe that. I mean, all jokes aside.
The aforementioned Mo Alley Cox was a tight end 1 on the week because all you have to do is catch one pass for a touchdown.
Doesn't take much.
David Njoku was zero.
Oh,
A zero this week. I guess we'll get into the duds. We'll
Yes,
talk
we
about
will.
it then. But let's talk rising stars.
Rising Stars of the Week.
All right, my rising star this week is David Moore.
Yeah.
David Moore, Seattle wide receiver. He has scored a touchdown in 3 straight games, 4 total in that span. Double-digit fantasy points in 3 straight games. And I don't know. I mean, we kind of know what's wrong with Doug Baldwin. We know he's physically limited right now, and that he said that he's not going to be the same this season with the injury. But the targets aren't there. Tyler Lockett, David Moore, they seem to be the guys. And again, 17 total passes, so he's needed to score to be relevant. But David Moore, you can pick him up. He's going to be on the waiver show, and right now you can play him because Russell Wilson trusts him. Brandon Marshall is gone.
Yeah, I was
jettisoned into space.
When I went to put in my rising star, I wanted to put in David Moore, and you had him. I think Brandon Marshall's role is his now, and so
that happened 3 games ago.
No, but
I don't have to think about it.
I actually believe it now.
Oh.
So no, I like this start of the week. My rising star
Ed
should be, except the star was already risen. He was, the North
31 years old. He's getting ready to get that
North
career kicked
Star
off.
is already in place, my friends. No, my rising star is Jack Doyle. I pumped the brakes 2 weeks ago on Eric Ebron because Jack Doyle was coming back. And while Ebron did have the touchdown, what Mike was just saying about the snap counts, the routes run, how much are you on the field, kind of matters for how much you can do on the field. And so you've got Jack Doyle in his 3 starts. He's rocking the 90+% snap counts. He's always on the field. He runs so many more routes than Eric Ebron. And if you look at what he's done, I mean, he's had, 10 targets for 7 receptions before. Now this last week, 7 targets, 6 receptions, 70 yards. The schedule obviously is not perfect for them. I'm not saying he is a must-grab, play now stash.
You want to call Ed Dickson a tight end one. Jack Doyle, if he plays, is a tight end
Yeah,
one.
I mean, Andrew Luck and Frank Reich, the whole Indianapolis Colts, I think they are finally clicking, and I believe 100% in their offense. I don't think there's going to be another game this season where they're not scoring 25 points. And Jack Doyle is a huge part of that. Watching the game, I was talking to the TV because I needed Eric Ebron, and I'm like, Raiders, Jack Doyle is just going to the center of the field and standing still like 6 plays in a row, and he's just catching. It's like
Invisibility cloak.
Guard that guy.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, he's a huge piece of that offense, and I want Jack Doyle going forward, especially with how crappy the tight end landscape is, how unreliable. I want the targets, the snap percentages, the routes run, and the quarterback. That's what Jack Doyle presents.
My rising stars are the Cleveland Browns. They are about to ascend, but for real, it's DJ Moore. This is why we've been talking about it in the past couple of weeks, that the pedigree was there, the first wide receiver taken in this past draft. He had never played more than 50% of the snaps, shot up to 71%. The 2 carries is extremely interesting to me that he received yesterday, not because you can count on that every single week, but it was the team, I believe, realizing, okay, we got to get DJ Moore going. We got to get him implemented in the system. We have to force touches. He is, and if you don't know who DJ Moore is, he plays for the Carolina Panthers. He was 5 for 90 in terms of receiving yards this past week. I think that he is on an upward trajectory for the remainder of the season. I don't know how high he can climb for fantasy purposes, but I think he is, if you hadn't already been stashing him, he's looking far more less like a goatee and more like a mustache.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes
You're welcome.
Perfect sense.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
David Moore or DJ Moore? I'm sorry, David. Yeah.
Yeah,
David Moore or DJ Moore? I'll take D Moore.
Well, you would be the one to ask about this, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, that I guess that would make sense.
That's
it's my
it's your last name.
Yeah,
that's your.
If I had to pick one of these guys, I think I would pick DJ Moore. I mean, the touchdowns are very nice coming from David Moore. But the volume isn't there. Now that Ed Dickson's there stealing everything, I mean, it's going to be tough. But I think the talent is clearly on the – I feel like opportunity's been there for David Moore. Talent is there with DJ Moore. And if he's going to start these 70+% snap counts, then I think the fantasy value will come.
And we're starting to look ahead. Fantasy playoffs for the Carolina Panthers
Very
passing
nice.
attack is very juicy.
All right, let's talk about some duds. Jameis Winston, Drew Brees. I mean, you can't really do much with the Drew Brees
Yeah, it's
game.
not his fault.
I mean, 18 for 23 for 120 and 1. The defense stepped up. The defense made some big plays. You had the ridiculous pick six. It was just unfortunate if you're a Drew Brees owner.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, remember, since that first loss, similar to last year where the Saints looked like their defense was terrible last season, and then it was like, oh, no, they have a great defense. We're starting to see them do the exact same thing this year, and so I worry about Drew Brees a little bit rest of season.
They picked up Eli Apple.
Yeah, they picked up some pieces for their defense. I really genuinely think Drew Brees is like he's a trade candidate for me. If I've got him, I'm shopping him right now because he's got a huge name. He's been great this season. But if Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara start rushing in more touchdowns like last year and the defense stops the shootouts, you're going to have what you had last season with Drew Brees, which is he's pretty much always the quarterback 13 or 14. You're disappointed.
All right, fantasy owners need some answers, guys. Isaiah Crowell, Matt Breida, Chris Thompson, Colonel Mustard,
Yeah.
Raheem Mostert, and then Corey Clement. I mean, there are a number of poopers in this group. Carlos Hyde, 6 for 11. I mean, no, we didn't expect the world from Carlos Hyde this week. Probably expected more than 6 for 11.
Yeah, so Crowell, it was the matchup. He was playing against the Chicago Bears. Next week he will get the Miami Dolphins, and he will get the volume against that team. He's going to end up as a great play. Breida is he's like a walking mash unit. You never know if when he's going to be healthy, when he's not. The matchup was there. He was supposed to be limited.
One thing to point out, the are you doing a mash? Oh my goodness! Oh, that is way that is way over the heads of our audience.
Hello, fellow young people.
Yes, the mash reference no good. One thing to note about the Arizona Cardinals matchup that has been so incredibly juicy. Obviously, Matt Breida torched in limited action the Cardinals several weeks ago. They actually switched this week. Now, I don't know if this was the press conference said it was because this was the second time they were playing against the Niners. They wanted to show something different, but it could just be the moment that people have been waiting for Steve Wilkes to switch to their base offense of the new 4-3
Defense,
because usually what they've been doing on first, second down is playing nickel, and people have been running all over us. This game, they didn't do that. They actually played the 4-3, the base Steve Wilkes defense. The fact that they actually won the game and now they're going into the bye week, I wouldn't be surprised if when they come out, they continue to roll with their base 4-3 and maybe stop the run a little bit. So it's something 2 weeks from now we'll have to remember because the matchup always looks so enticing right now for Arizona. Might not stay that way.
What do you do with Corey Clement?
You hold him, you bench him.
you drop him. He's not worth it. He's not worth holding. Smallwood and Josh Adams are better players on that offense. I've seen it long enough. I mean, they don't trust Clement to give him very much. I mean, 5 touches on the game. Josh Adams looked like the best running back on the team by far. You got a bye week coming up. I don't got time to mess with Corey Clement.
Yeah, I mean, with the bye week coming up, if you need someone else, if there's a great waiver wire pickup, sure, I'd be willing. But otherwise, I'm still stashing him. I remember early in the season, it looked like that as well. Said, hey, we got to drop Clement. That was after week 1, and then injuries happened. Jay Ajayi gets banged up. Darren Sproles got banged up. Corey Clement had some solid fantasy weeks, so I'm preferring to stash him if I have that luxury.
Chris Thompson, what do you do with him?
Stash him.
Yeah, I mean,
just hold on right now.
Atlanta, Tampa Bay coming up. Those are perfect Chris Thompson matchups where they could be high-scoring shootouts, have to dump the ball off. I actually like Chris Thompson going forward. He would be a guy I'd be willing to target in a trade because you could probably get him for nothing.
What do you do with T.Y. Hilton, wide receiver,
That
one
was-
catch, 34 yards. The bye week coming up, huge disappointment.
You just hold on. Take your lumps.
Doug Baldwin, 2 for 26.
That's a bigger concern.
Basically, last week he was 6 for 91 on 8 targets, so he had stepped up. You were hoping to see him maybe get a little healthier. Chargers, Rams, Packers on the horizon, so 3 teams that are likely going to put Russell Wilson in a position to need to score, need to throw the ball. But do you readjust your expectations for what Baldwin is?
You have to. He has, week 4, he was 5 for 41. That's not a destruction of your team. Is not what you're hoping for Doug Baldwin, but he's had one game where you were happy that you played him, and you may not even played him. You may have benched him.
Yeah, for context, Larry Fitzgerald has 2, and Larry
And
Fitzgerald's
people
on the
hate
waivers.
Larry right now.
Yeah.
Kenny Golladay, the 3 targets in the last 2 games, which is that's a problem. If you need to count on somebody, we talked about him. Alshon, 4 for 35. He had the Jalen Ramsey matchup. He's got the bye next week. Don't worry about Alshon. And then John Brown, 3 for 28 on 7 targets. This happens.
Yeah,
when you have a high air yard guy, if he doesn't come down with the big play or 2, you are going to hurt.
Yeah, and you're still going to play him. When you've got a Deshaun Jackson, John Brown, Ted Ginn / Traquan Smith, when you've got that speedster role, high air yards, you have to just be willing to get a 0 to take your chance at the 25-point game.
And then I was alluding to it earlier, but the tight ends hurt you this week. David
Yes.
Njoku.
Thankfully, the tight ends might not have hurt you because you played other people who the tight ends hurt them.
For instance, if David Njoku was your tight end and you faced off against C.J. Uzomah, you ended up pretty good.
Neutral.
Because you both scored 0. Or if you're the Jimmy Graham owner and you played up against Trey Burton, you ended up pretty good. Jimmy Graham, 1 for 21. Trey Burton, 3 for 18 on 4 targets. I guess the question that I have for you is, are you alarmed by any of the usage? David Njoku basically had no targets on this game. There was one PI on him, but you had seen such an increase in usage, such a reliance from Baker Mayfield. Now you've got a change at the head coaching position. Is David Njoku, do you just need to move on and not worry about it? Is this like the Hunter Henry Goose games last year where you just kind of say,
It is for
well, I don't
me.
have a choice, so
Yeah, exactly. With David Njoku, Jimmy Graham, and Trey Burton, you just have to go, well, that stinks, and then keep playing them. They're as good as any other options out there. You're not going to pick a guy up off of the waiver wire right now. Maybe a Dickson, but that's going to be in the caliber of Njoku, Graham, Burton. So you hold those guys, you keep playing them, and you brought up a perfect example in Hunter Henry. Twice last season, just complete goose eggs, and he had a great year overall. So you got to roll with the ugly tight end punches.
This was Baker Mayfield's lowest passing yardage of the season, including the game where he played half of
a lot
the
of
game.
grimacing in this game from Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting decisions. Jason, upcoming week, Kobe Fleener or Ed Dickson? Who do you?
I'm going to say Ed Dickson.
And one more question for you guys. Who's a sell high candidate after this past week? Do you have somebody that pops into your mind as a sell high candidate? I can probably jump in and give you some of the scoring leaders if you don't already have one in your mind. But
there's a couple options. I would say Kenyon Drake.
Drake is the name that pops up for me. He has hit
Marvin Jones?
He has hit on 2 weeks recently, and he can do it. We've said that. Yes, he can do it, but if he doesn't score, you're going to have a bad time playing Kenyon Drake.
You know who I would
Lamar Miller? Or are you in on him now?
I hold him. Yeah, I think Lamar Miller's. When I researched the Deonta Foreman injury,
I'll sell him to Jason.
I'll buy him.
Hue Jackson?
No, how about this? How about Tyler Boyd?
No way.
Listen, Tyler Boyd is going to net you a ton. He's a wide receiver 1 and has been great. He goes on bye. Then he's got the Saints with their defense kicking in, and then Baltimore. So if over the next month you get basically 3 crappy games from Tyler Boyd and you're able to flip him for someone that maybe has passed their bye, that's a great option. Maybe you need running back depth. I'm not telling anybody you must sell Tyler Boyd because he's going to stink, but what I'm saying is you could get max value for a guy where if he still continues to play good against Baltimore and against New Orleans after the bye, if you got good value for him, you didn't take a loss there.
Yeah, Boyd, again, the Saints matchup, Boyd will get P.J. Williams, cornerback. Boyd is going to have a monster game.
Having A.J. Green on the other side take the majority of the coverage is nice.
Boyd gets the one bad corner on that team. He'll be fine.
Eli Apple.
No, but Boyd plays the slot. He'll get the slot receiver or the slot corner.
All right, that is it for today's episode. Remember, Navy Federal has a mission to put members first by making their financial goals the priority. We thank them for sponsoring the show. You can receive a lifetime of membership benefits to help you and your family accomplish your life missions, like a full suite of financial products designed to fit your needs, 24/7 life support, and access to over 300 branches on or near military bases. Please visit NavyFederal.org for more information, or you can call 1-888-842-6328 or download the Navy Federal Credit Union app. Again, thanks to Navy Federal for supporting the show. Message and data rates may apply. Guys, 18 points from Gronk. That's all I'm asking, Jason.
9 points from Shady McCoy.
Enjoy your Monday Night Football game. We'll talk to you in the morning.
Yeah, check out draft.com/ballers for that daily goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.